Look at your bedside table. Wake up at 5 a.m. Drink lemon water. Write a gratitude journal. You've been told these are the keys to the kingdom. You've been lied to. These aren't the habits of emperors. They are the maintenance protocols for high-functioning gears. The system loves your self-improvement because it makes you a more reliable, more durable, and more predictable asset. You are polishing your chains and calling it progress. While you are busy finding balance, the 1% are busy unbalancing the world to their advantage. Niccolò Machiavelli didn't counsel princes on how to be well-adjusted. He taught them how to be effective. The average majority seeks habits that provide comfort and social approval. They want to be liked by their peers in the herd. But the architect understands a cold, terrifying truth. To lead the herd, you must first lose the desire to belong to it. I've seen men spend decades perfecting their routine, only to remain subservient to a boss who sleeps until noon but understands leverage. One man is a world-class athlete in a hamster wheel. The other is the one who owns the cage. You feel superior because you read books while others watch mindless entertainment. Don't be fooled. Unless your habits are designed to seize control, you are just a more sophisticated version of the person you despise. Today, we execute the good human within you. We move past the habits of survival and into the habits of supremacy. Are you ready to stop being a better gear and start being the architect? Stay sovereign. Habit 1. Ruthless Information Curation. The average majority are information gluttons. They wake up and immediately surrender their minds to the digital dumpster, scrolling through the outrage of the day like starving dogs scavenging for scraps. They believe that staying informed makes them superior, but in reality, they are just filling their internal hard drives with noise. They are drowning in a sea of irrelevant data, and a drowning man cannot build a kingdom. The architect, however, practices ruthless curation. To the 1%, your news is a toxin. Your social media trends are a deliberate distraction designed to keep the gears busy while the machine is serviced. I once knew a high-level strategist who went 6 months without knowing the name of a single world leader's scandal, yet he tripled his net worth in that same window. He wasn't out of touch. He was in control. He understood that the human brain is not a library. It is a high-security laboratory. If you let every stray thought and breaking news alert through the gates, you have already compromised the experiment. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this perfectly. The deceiver will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. By consuming what the masses consume, you think like the masses. You become a sophisticated subject instead of a sovereign master. The elite don't consume information, they mine it. They ignore 99.9% of the world's static to find the 0.1% that serves as a blueprint for their next move. They don't want to know everything. They want to know the one thing that provides leverage. While others are bloated with the mental fat of celebrity gossip and political theater, the architect remains lean, hungry, and intellectually predatory. Ignorance of the trivial is the ultimate status symbol. If you want to be more than a better version of the commoner, you must first learn to starve your curiosity of the average. Stay sovereign. Habit 2. Emotional detachment. Most people are chemical puppets. They are dragged through life by the invisible strings of dopamine, cortisol, and serotonin. When they lose money, they cry. When they are insulted, they rage. When they fail, they paralyze. They believe these feelings are the human experience. In reality, these feelings are the shackles of the gear. The 1% operate differently. They are not their bodies. They are the ghost in the machine. The architect views his own ego as a piece of hardware that occasionally malfunctions. When a crisis hits, the average majority is busy drowning in panic. The architect, however, steps out of his skin. He looks at his racing heart and sweaty palms not as fear, but as an error code in the system. He doesn't ask, "How do I feel?" He asks, "What is the most lethal move on the board right now?" Think of a professional surgeon. If he felt empathy for the patient's pain while cutting into their chest, his hand would shake and the patient would die. His coldness is exactly what saves the life. To the world, you might look like a statue, unfeeling and remote. When they call you cold, they think they are insulting you. They don't realize they are handing you a trophy. In the game of power, being cold is simply another word for being unshakable. Niccolò Machiavelli famously wrote, "A prince must have a mind ready to turn itself accordingly as the winds and variations of fortune force it." You cannot turn your mind if it is anchored to the heavy, rotting weight of your emotions. I see people every day who refuse to start a business or leave a toxic environment because they are waiting to feel ready. They are waiting for a chemical signal that will never come. Right now, as you watch this, you might feel a lack of immediate results. A gear would call this a failure. But an architect knows that the true profit isn't the gold in the bank. It's the software upgrade occurring in your mind. The data you are absorbing right now is worth more than a paycheck because it buys you a version of yourself that can never be manipulated again. The masses are driven by heart. The elite are driven by math. While the herd is busy reacting to the world, the ghost is busy recoding it. If you cannot observe your own suffering without flinching, you are not a master. You are just a more sophisticated version of the prey. Stay sovereign. Habit 3. Asymmetric leverage. The most dangerous lie ever told to the average majority is that hard work is the path to freedom. The system demands your sweat because sweat is the lubricant of the machine. If you are still trading 1 hour of your life for 1 hour of pay, you aren't an entrepreneur. You are a sophisticated slave practicing linear math. You are a rower in a galley, blinded by the rhythm of your own exertion. The architect doesn't work, he builds levers. Archimedes once said, "Give me a place to stand and a lever long enough and I shall move the world." He didn't say he would move it with his bare hands. The 1% understand asymmetric leverage. They don't look for a one-to-one return. They seek the 1-to-1,000. While the commoner asks, "How much can I get done today?" the elite asks, "What system can I build today that will work while I am dead?" I see people every day bragging about their 80-hour work weeks as if exhaustion is a badge of honor. It's pathetic. I don't care how much you bleed. I care about the geometry of your output. If you spend 10 hours swinging a hammer in a field, you have 10 hours of manual labor. If you spend those same 10 hours writing an algorithm or building a brand that utilizes the time, capital, and labor of others, you have created a force multiplier that ripples through time. One man is a gear spinning until it wears out. The other is the hand that designed the engine. To the architect, busy is a sign of failure. It means you have failed to automate, failed to delegate, or failed to think. Leverage is using other people's money, other people's time, and code to act as your digital soldiers. Right now, you are watching a video. This video is a lever. It is speaking to thousands of people simultaneously while my physical body does something else. That is the math of the 1%. The masses take pride in their grind because they have nothing else to offer. They are the weight on the scale. You must be the pivot point. Stop measuring your worth by your fatigue. Start measuring it by the asymmetry of your impact. If your work doesn't scale, you aren't building a future. You're just digging your own grave one shovel at a time. Stay sovereign. Habit 4. Weaponized solitude. The average majority has a phobia of their own mind. They are terrified of silence because in the silence, the truth about their mediocrity begins to scream. This is why they drown their lives in white noise, podcasts, background music, the mindless chatter of friends who have nothing to say. They are like cattle huddling together for warmth, afraid that if they step away from the herd, they will be eaten by the wolves. They don't realize that the 1% are the wolves. The architect doesn't just endure solitude, he weaponizes it. While the masses are busy connecting, the elite are busy disconnecting. They understand a law of power that Machiavelli knew well. He who is alone is free. If you are always in a crowd, you are thinking at the speed of the crowd, and the crowd is remarkably slow. To achieve the velocity of the 1%, you must exit the orbit of the common man. You must enter the dead zone. I make it a rule to spend hours every week in a room with nothing but my own thoughts. No self-help audio, no notifications, no distractions. In the beginning, it's agonizing. Your brain, addicted to the dopamine drip of the herd, will beg for mercy. It will tell you that you are wasting time. But this is the trial of the void. If you can survive the silence, you begin to hear the architect's voice, the part of you that sees the patterns, the weaknesses in the market, and the next 10 moves on the chessboard. Think of a submarine. On the surface, it's tossed around by every wave and wind. That is the average person reacting to every social media trend. But deep in the crushing silence of the abyss, the submarine is invisible, lethal, and focused entirely on its mission. It doesn't care about the weather on the surface, it only cares about the target. By isolating yourself, you are not being lonely. You are performing a strategic blackout. You are starving the world of your presence so you can feed your mind with clarity. When you return from the silence, you aren't just rested, you are dangerous. You have a plan that no one saw coming because you weren't talking about it at brunch. You weren't seeking validation for your ideas. You were forging them in the dark. The commoner seeks friends to kill time. The architect seeks solitude to seize time. While they are gossiping about their peers, you are calculating how to outpace them by a decade. If you cannot sit in a dark room alone for an hour without trembling, you will never lead a nation, a company, or even your own life. You are just another gear that needs the friction of other gears to feel alive. Stay sovereign. Habit 5. Absolute responsible. The average majority lives in a state of perpetual victimhood. They are experts at finding someone, anyone, to hold the leash of their failures. It's the economy, it's the government, it's their upbringing, it's bad luck. By pointing the finger outward, they feel a temporary sense of relief, a soothing lie that says, "It's not my fault." But there is a hidden, terrifying price for that relief. When you blame someone else for your situation, you are admitting they have more power over your life than you do. You are literally handing them the keys to your cage and begging them to let you out. The architect doesn't believe in luck. He only believes in calculated variables. In the world of the 1%, there are no accidents, only unforeseen data points. If a business deal collapses because a partner betrayed you, a gear would cry about disloyalty. The architect says, "I failed to vet his character. I failed to build a contract that made betrayal expensive. My fault." If a sudden market crash wipes out a portfolio, the masses scream at the central banks. The architect says, "I failed to diversify against a black swan event. My fault." This isn't self-flagellation. It is the ultimate form of predatory power. You do not negotiate with fate. You dictate to it through preparation. To the elite, taking absolute ownership is the only way to remain sovereign. If the rain ruins your harvest, you don't curse the clouds. You curse yourself for not building a greenhouse. I've watched men lose everything and rise back to the top in months because they refuse to play the victim. They treat every disaster as an engineering flaw in their own design. While the commoners sit in cafes complaining about the system, the architect is under the hood of his own life, tightening the bolts, ensuring that next time the system bends to him. Compare a leaf in a river to a nuclear-powered icebreaker. The leaf goes wherever the current dictates, blaming the water for its direction. The icebreaker creates its own path through solid, frozen sheets. It doesn't ask the ice for permission. It doesn't blame the cold for existing. It simply possesses enough internal power to make the environment irrelevant. If you are still looking for someone to blame for your current bank balance or your lack of progress, you are still a subject. You are a child waiting for a parent to fix the world. But if you want to be the one who owns the world, you must accept that everything is your fault. The moment you take responsibility for the unlucky strike, you seize the power to prevent it. You move from being a passenger in the back of the ambulance to being the surgeon in charge of the operation. Are you ready to stop being unlucky and start being inevitable? Stay sovereign. Becoming the 1% is not an addition, it is a subtraction. Most people want the crown, but they aren't willing to endure the weight of it. They want the freedom of the architect, but they still want the safety of the herd. You cannot have both. To reach the summit, you must be willing to sacrifice the average version of yourself. You must leave behind the need to be understood by people who have no vision. You must sacrifice the comfort of fitting in for the cold reality of standing out. I've seen people choose their friends over their future 1,000 times. They would rather stay in the mud with people who like them than climb the mountain alone where they might be feared. But remember, the view from the top is only lonely for those who brought their gear mentality with them. For the sovereign, the silence at the top is the sweetest music there is. Are you willing to be the villain in someone else's story to be the hero in your own? Are you willing to be called cold, arrogant, or changed? Because if you aren't ready to lose the respect of the masses, you aren't ready to lead them. The habits of the elite aren't about self-help. They are about self-mastery. They are the tools you use to recode your reality until the world has no choice but to reflect your internal design. In the next session, we go deeper. We stop talking about thinking and start talking about executing. We will discuss how to seize the levers of power in a world that wants to keep you small. Until then, look at your habits. Are they building a kingdom, or are they just decorating your cell? Stay sovereign.